Welcome to the Small Business Podcast, where every week we are highlighting small business owners that support small business owners. The key here is that we are all about small businesses in America. And today we have Christine Polliott, who is a Vistage Chair. And a little bit about Vistage is all about doing groups and bringing a group masterminding, if you will, into the play. But where she is focused is on leading groups of small businesses that are the heart of businesses in America. And her take on how she wants to support this coming out of a very large corporate environment many years ago, where she worked for 35 years. She's now been leading for the last 11 years in leadership and executive coaching, and has great insights for the small businesses listening here. So we're going to dive in to the conversation today with Christine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here.
Can you give us a quick synopsis around what Vistage is to you and how it is helping these small businesses that are listening?
Sure. If you're not familiar with Vistage, Vistage is really a CEO peer advisory. And what I do is bring group of CEOs, presidents, and owners together around the table to be a trusted advisory group for each other. And what I find is that our small and middle market businesses find that it's quite lonely at the top to lead. They've put everything into their business, and it gives them access to both research and information that we have available through Vistage, but also it gives them a network of people that they can roll up their sleeves with and work on their business with. And so our goal is to grow that leader and grow the business.
Excellent. You talked a little bit before the show about how you were working in corporate America. And I believe I read your LinkedIn, right? You worked for the largest privately held company in the country, which has, I think, a current market cap of something around 144 billion. And if I looked it up correctly, and you decided to then go into helping small businesses, and you became a Vistage Chair because you love the team environment. And talk a little bit about how it really helped Vistage groups really start to become a team of support. I've worked with many leaders over the course of the last 5 years, especially, that have participated as Vistage shareholders. So they're in Vistage groups, and they all have great things to say about it. So tell me a little bit about how you see that really supporting the group mindset.
Yeah. So we're quite selective at Vistage. We really look for business owners and leaders of businesses that are seeking out, ready to grow and grow themselves and grow their business, and are curious about learning, and that they recognize that they don't know it all. So business owners that really know that they can get input and advice from other members of leaders in other businesses. So what we do is select diverse people in the group. We try to get breadth of perception or perspectives in the group, size of organization, path to leadership, type of business, and create a really trusted environment where there is no competition or no conflict of interest in the room. And intentionally create a space where leaders can bring their messiest mess or their greatest opportunity for growth to the table, roll up their sleeves, and allow others who know what it's like to lead, pick it apart, making sure we're looking at, is this the root cause of the problem or a symptom? And how can we support that leader in being able to make a decision faster, grow their business faster, or maybe make a stronger decision because gotten perspectives of things they hadn't thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to be in that group environment. Tell me a little bit about how you engage with the group to remove some of those walls that are up, because every business owner can be, even though they're wanting to grow, they're wanting to learn, some can really be very guarded with their opportunity maybe they're listening, but they're not engaging in the conversation. What questions do you ask them to be able to help them engage in the conversation and bring light and take down some of those walls that they've been so protective of?
Yeah, that's a really great question. One of the things that we do with our Vistage CEO peer groups is also provide one-to-one coaching. And so oftentimes the one-to-one session is a place where we can dive in deep enough, help them think through, like, what is the issue? What is the challenge? What have I done to date? And what might value you get from a group if you bring it to the group? But those questions can be everything from what have you tried so far? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What's the hurdle there? And we can be asking questions like, what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? What would the ideal be? What are some things that might help you move that forward?
What that is very great information to be able to start to key in on some of this. As business owners that are listening out there, they've already got that trigger, right? They decided to figure out, okay, what does this podcast have to offer that I could potentially break through my business? I want to grow my business. So they've made a small mental shift of at least trying to grow. What would you say is the one thing you would say to them that said, take the next step? How would you encourage them to take the next step and jump into really investing in themselves and investing in their opportunity to grow their business even further?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of the conversations that we have up front when we're exploring whether a business owner or CEO is a good candidate for Vistage is looking at what is their growth trajectory? What are the goals that they want? And one of the things that we find is what are the hurdles that get in the way? So most businesses want to grow, but they're not growing at the pace that they want. So we really take a look at what gets in the way. One of the things that's pretty consistent is time. CEOs and presidents of small businesses are so busy working in the business, doing things that ideally should not be on their plate. So how do we get those things off of their plate so they can be more strategic? And when we find that business owners can take that time away from working in the business every day and work more strategically, they can grow faster. And it really allows them to move that pace much quicker when they can do that.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that, because those are elements that I applied in my small business, and it definitely helped me move things extremely fast as there. And we want to be able to portray that it's a hard step to take. It's one of those things where, as a small business owner out there listening, I want you to really listen to this and say, what if you've been trying the same thing for the last 5 years and the business is flat or only growing at a very small percentage? Maybe it's time to shake things up. And whether that's a Vistage Chair or another coaching program, that definitely could be an opportunity for you to stretch a little bit, get out of your comfort zone. Even in the conversation here, we're both stretching a little bit and having a great conversation outside of the comfort zone that we're used to. You're not, it's the old adage of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. How about we try something new and reach out to a Vistage Chair if you have the opportunity to do that. If you've ever opened your laptop ready to grow your business and 2 hours later closed it, realizing you've gotten nothing done, but you've researched office chairs, you've ordered lunch, and you've planned out the next 3 dinners, all the things that you wouldn't typically do to work on your business? Yeah, I've done that too. I'm Jason Pond. I'm the host of the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, and I want you to achieve your breakthrough. But we do that through the community I built. I built the Momentum Community. The Momentum Community is a place where we meet every week. We talk about your goals, where you want to get with your business, and then we track them. And we use the Momentum dashboard to do that. We make sure you're moving forward every week, and it's accountability like you've never seen in a community forum. I want you to be part of that community. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. What would you say in the world of business coaching? You've been doing it for quite a while. You've done some, and you're going into doing a lot of this Vistage Chair and Vistage groups. What's evolving? How is the world of coaching and business coaching evolving? And what are you doing to take steps to stay ahead of that curve?
Great. I'm constantly learning myself. So I'm in several different development programs to continue to strengthen my own coaching. But the other thing that I think is really important is that as business coaches and leader coaches is that we really challenge our leaders to be thinking ahead. Right now, this last year, there's been a lot of people holding their breath with the uncertainty of the elections upcoming and all of this kind of stuff. Okay, now we're past that, but there's still a lot of anticipation about what does that mean. And one of the things that we do in the group and that I do one-to-one is challenging leaders to think about, let's talk about what you need to do to be prepared for this or that. We follow ITR economics pretty heavily and look a lot at their predictive things too. And there's been a lot of talk about growth in 2025 and 2026, but it's been slow this year. So what are you doing so you don't cut your arms off so that you can actually take advantage of the growth potentially in the next 2 years? And they're predicting and talking about recession and depression level economic impact as we get closer to 2030. And so my challenge to the business owners is, how are you thinking ahead? How are you planning years in advance to be sure that you're positioned to take best advantage of the things that are coming down the pipe? And that can be market volatility, economic environment, and all workforce as well, right? Our demographic is aging. How do we really reach out and find the new talent when there's less of it?
Yeah, so listeners, that there's a lot of gold inside of that, of being able to look and be prepared. As a small business owner, it's really hard to look past tomorrow. But it is very important to look into next year, into the further down the road, 3, 5 years down the road, and make the decision. And I have to put the spin inside of this because I've heard so many people, and I watched a ton on social media about how everybody was waiting for the election. And really, you just missed a huge opportunity. And if you're still waiting, you're still missing an opportunity to be progressive and to move forward in your industry, to be the leader of what you're doing. What I have found is it is very lonely out front because nobody else is doing it. And if nobody else is doing it, it means you're the market leader. And if you're the market leader, you're gaining the best market share. So the inside of that is then start thinking about what's happening down the road, but be smart about it and definitely ask. But the whole hold up on the presidential election is just astounding to me. There's certain things that are required to hold. I understand those principles, but there's a lot of these are just like, I'm just putting off making the inevitable decision, which is never the right way to do business. You're just kicking the can down the road, as we would say. The elements of the conversation we've had in this is there is so much to add into business development and business growth. Small business owners getting around a peer, not being stuck and lonely on your own. If you're looking around at your friend group and you're paying attention to what is there and realizing that it's not entrepreneurs, a Vistage group could be the right answer. And so, Christine, what would you say as maybe a close up before we jump into the lightning round here? What would you say to a business owner that is on the cusp? They're like, they listened to this podcast to this point and they said, what would you say that could be the triggering element of putting them over the edge and getting them to jump into any coaching program, not just necessarily a Vistage program?
I would probably have them take a look back a year ago and think about the big goals that they had. How many of them have they executed to the T that they had laid out there? How many got kicked down the road? How many decisions are mulling around in the head that have maybe been spinning and I haven't solidified them, so I keep delaying that? And the other big thing is, how often do you really take time to work strategically on your business? And what would that do if you could?
And I'm going to follow that up with one other part. What if it's a business owner that's listening that's never set a goal? They've always just shown up to work like it's a job, done the day to day, but they know they're missing something.
Good question. I think the key to that is they know they're missing something, because there are plenty of business owners that are really happy in a lifestyle business. And that's not a place for Vistage is not a place for them, really. We target people who really want to grow. And so I would say is, are you growing at the pace you want? And if not, let's just have a conversation. It's really an opportunity to explore, is there more that I could be doing that would drive the outcomes that I really want?
Yeah, absolutely. That is very important. So listeners out there, even if you've never set a goal for your business or for your life, look around, because we talk a lot about goal setting and business coaching. We talk a lot about goal setting. Any of the books that you read around business development and business coaching, and any of these is all about setting goals. If you've never set a goal, it might be time, but if you need help with that, reach out. Christine, are you ready to jump into our lightning round?
Sure.
It's been a great conversation so far, and you've done fantastic. And these are not hard questions. These are very easy questions to go with, but we're going to leave with a little bit of fun and some inspiration at the end. So we'll start off with the really easy one: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Neither.
Okay, excellent. That's fine. That's an acceptable answer. So a lot of people get hesitant. They're like, that wasn't an option. You can
Well, I
always
have
go
a cat,
with,
but it's an outside cat.
that's
So
okay. It's okay. This one's a little trickier, but it's not that hard.
okay.
If you could grab only one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
A cross.
A cross. Okay. Now we get into the inspirational stuff. What's a favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Oh boy. I think Mother Teresa has a few good ones, and so does Mari Angelou. I think it's probably the one that I think of first off is the one that says people don't remember what you say or what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. And I think
Yes,
that's really important.
that's a very powerful one on that one. What's one book that has influenced your life the most?
Hmm. Can I say two? There is a book that's called Holy Moments by Matthew Kelly. And that is about, best I could describe it is kindness breeds kindness. And there's a butterfly effect. When you create moments that are special and holy and kind, it flows through. And the second one would be maybe the book behind that, which would be the Bible.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. Two great books for the listeners out there. If you haven't read the Bible for sure, or the other one that was listed, biggest obstacle that you have had to overcome and one lesson that you have learned from it.
The biggest obstacle, boy, there's been so many. But the one that first comes to mind actually is, as you stated, I had a 35-year career, and that was at Cargill, the largest privately owned company. Phenomenal place. My last job was outsourcing my team. And that meant that my job would also be eliminated at the end of all of that. And so the biggest obstacle for me was, what on earth am I going to do now? I'm all I know is Cargill. And so the obstacle of saying, okay, I was challenged to take a coaching class, and I did, and I thought, oh, that's me. I'm going to do that. I loved growing people. I loved leading people. And then I realized that I didn't have a network. I didn't have a reputation. I was coming from IT, not HR, learning and development. So my biggest obstacle was actually building a brand, finding a voice in the marketplace, and candidly feeling competent and adequate to do this work.
Yeah, we've all deal with imposter syndrome at some point throughout it, and that definitely can creep in. So congratulations on all of those efforts that you have put forth. If our listeners want to reach out and learn more about Vistage, how could they do that?
I am absolutely accessible on LinkedIn. My website for my coaching business is evokethepossible.com. And my email would be christine.polliott@vistagechair.com.
Excellent. We'll have all of that information in the show notes or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. But Christine, I really appreciate you being on the Small Business Breakthrough podcast today. And it is great to hear how we're continuing to support small businesses. This was an episode full of gold nuggets that will be valuable to continuing to progress that mission. For listeners out there, until next time.